I have a game. If you want to play a cooperative game?
A cooperative game?
It's cooperative, but not just any cooperative game. It's a 5 out of 5 cooperative. It says it on the box. 5 out of 5 cooperative.
Does that mean that every 5 times that we cooperate, we have to cooperate?
Yeah, 5 out of 5 doctors recommend that you cooperate with Switch and Signal. So, get those 2 out of 5 cooperatives out of my house. This is a 5 out of 5.
Okay.
Also, it's a 5 out of 5 train fans.
What does that even mean?
Here's the setup for a game of Switch and Signal. I've got 2 player hands set up, but this game does go up to 4 players. The point of this game is before time runs out, which is controlled by this deck of event cards over here, players are trying to move their trains around the board to pick up these 8 goods cubes in the 4 major cities. 2 red, 2 white, 2 yellow, 2 blue, and have the trains come into the stations here, actually pick them up and put them into the train miniatures here, and move them down to the city of Marseille to deliver them. Once all 8 cubes have been delivered, players will win the game. If the event deck ever runs out and players have not finished the game, then the players will lose. So let's talk about how the game works. On a turn, you're going to flip over an event card. This blue-backed one here is always the first one that comes out. These event cards will tell you to either put out more trains into these starting stations or to move them, as shown by this symbol here. So at the start of the game, this is always the first one. You put out 1 black train, 1 brown train, and 1 gray train, rolling these dice to determine what station they come out into. I've done that. I've just preloaded it here for the sake of time. Now that the player has done the event card, they will take their hand of action cards, and they will play actions, as many as they want. There are 3 different types of actions in the game. You can use these green cards to be able to move signals. So you can move signals from one place, one entry of a city to another, or you can even move these ones that are in the tracks in the middle of ways here, because trains cannot move through red signals, but they can move through it if they're green. So maybe I'll move one from here over to there. Every city always has to keep at least 1 touching it. The black cards here can be played to move the switches. These black discs around on the board represent switches, so a train moving along here would come and move along the open areas of the switch. So this one would come down this way. The last type of action you can play is a train movement card. This allows you to choose a color. So perhaps gray, and it allows you to roll the die and move all of the trains on the board of that color. So in this case, all gray trains are going to move 1. Gray are the slowest trains, their dice only go up to 3. Brown are the medium-paced trains, they go from 1 to 4. And black are the fast-paced trains, which go from 2 all the way up to 5 movement. After players done as many actions as they want, they will pass and keep all of the remaining cards, drawing 5 more into hand, and then they'll finish their turn. The next player goes, flipping over an event card, doing whatever's shown on here. In this case, move all trains of a color of your choice. We'll just say brown, and the brown one's going to move 4 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4. Eventually, as trains move into cities, now this is illegal with all the switches and the signal open. As a train moves into a city, a player has to discard any card of their choice in order to be able to load up one of these cubes into that train. And now the goal is for players to manipulate the switches and the signals so that as the brown train continues to move in the future, it will move towards the city of Marseille, eventually getting there, delivering the cubes. Once a train comes here, it's returned to the depot, because other event cards will tell you to place out more trains, and a lot of it is your choice. Now, there's a few penalties here. If trains ever were to collide into each other, as you don't want them to do in real life, the one that was moving eliminates the one that was not moving, and you're going to suffer time penalties. The more things that you do that are bad, like crashing trains or having trains move, having them move but unable to because a signal is not open, that's also going to cost time penalties. If you ever run out of these clocks over here, you're going to burn the top card of the event deck, the timer deck, meaning that time is going to run out sooner, so you have fewer turns to be able to accomplish all of the deliveries. There's also some one-time use powers that you can use anytime that you want, like re-rolling a die, considering all signals to be green for one whole turn, or ignoring a movement if it would perhaps cause you a penalty or something. Now, it should also be noted that there is a backside to the board, which is the United States of America, and some of Canada as well, and parts of Mexico. So North America, I should say. There's a North America map over here. The difference is that the starting stations are all over, but there are 2 delivery cities, San Francisco and New York. Each has to receive one set of the different colors, and so you have to diversify what you're going towards. There's a few variants as well in the box, so if you're finding the game is too difficult, there are extra time tokens that you can put out so that each penalty hurts you less. If you're finding that you want to ramp up the difficulty, there are 4 extra cubes of the different colors. What you would do is you set out 3 cubes in each of the cities, and then you'd have to deliver 10. You'd have to deliver all 8, right, of 2 of each basic color, and then 2 more of your choice, which does ramp up the difficulty. If you find that you don't like the die rolling randomness of putting out trains into these different places, there's a more predictable variant where you can flip over these tokens that will tell you, okay, the next train goes out into station 11, the next one goes out into station 3, so that you have less repeats, because if you ever have to put a train in a spot where there already is one, you will suffer a time token penalty as well. Or you can use these tokens if you want to mix up what the numbers are so that there's more, there's just a little difference of the map. So there are some built-in variations to the game, and that's how you play. So that's a look at Switch and Signal. Now, this is a cooperative game, as we mentioned.
And
right?
a fan game.
And a fan game.
A train fan game, sorry.
Yeah.
Clarify.
So looking at this cover, big train rolling on the front, it's called Switch and Signal. I was not expecting a cooperative game. Were you?
No, I wasn't.
What were you expecting when I said...
I was expecting a train game.
Okay, and is this a train game?
I mean,
is this a 5 out of 5 train game?
It has trains in it, and it has more than 5 trains, so I think that their numbering system is wrong.
It's a 9 out of 9.
No, it totally is it's a pick up and deliver train game, but it's not competitive, which is interesting, because usually it's a, control stocks and, try to figure out how to get in each other's way, but work together, but get in each other's way and be the best investor in trains.
You also expect, from a cover like this, I'm going to be laying out tracks.
Yes.
Right? And that's not, so you're not racing, you're not trying to deliver goods first, you're not trying to cut off, you're not laying out tracks.
Trains on tracks.
Right. The game kind of does it for you. So now that we've discussed what it's not, right, which really impresses me that it's none of those things, this game is really cool.
It is really cool. So this surprised me. So as a cooperative game, I expected it to be like many others where you do some stuff and then the game does a bunch of bad stuff to you and then you take your turns again and then more bad stuff happens. This is interesting because instead of bad stuff happening, stuff happens that's actually really helpful for you. It moves your trains along. It's the biggest movement of the game. You can do a little bit of movement with cards, but it's the biggest part of moving the game forward and getting your trains to where they need to be. The caveat is if you set yourself up poorly, then it is bad stuff that happens to you. But mostly it's positive.
That event card that flips at the start of each round, I'm so trained from games like Pandemic and Forbidden Island to say oh, it's going to happen.
It's going to be terrible.
That's the only way that new trains get put out around on the outside stations.
Yes. Yeah, you don't have a card for that. In fact, you have 3 actions, 3 action cards in the whole deck. You have the little green movement, the black movement, which just changes stuff on the board, and then you have move your trains. Mm-hmm. And that's it.
Yeah, you can spend 2 as a wild, so you have a lot of flexibility, even because I've had hands where I drew nothing but the green signal cards, and I'm like,
I didn't do anything.
Oh, that's right, 2, 2, 2, I moved some switches, I moved a train along quicker. The fact that you control train movement as well on your turn, that means you're not at the mercy of the event deck, but it means, okay, I know that this train needs to move, but I'm not in a rush, so it leads to these moments where you say, let's move all black trains on the board first, because the gray train is going to move on its own at some point, so we don't need to waste one of our actions to move it. There's a lot of good decisions that come in there's 3 actions only, but all of them have important decision moments.
Right, and you can also spend a card to load your train, but it can be any card, so you just say oh, what do I have a lot of? Let me get rid of that. Or what do I not need? Let me use that. The other interesting thing is that when you flip over the event card of the round, oftentimes it'll say add a wild train, and then it'll tell you what train is going to move. And so that also gives you more choices. Or sometimes it'll say, put out a black train, but any train can move. You get to choose the color. And so even with that event deck, you have so much flexibility. Sometimes you don't, but a lot of times you do.
The fact that the trains move at different speeds. I like that they're associated to color. It is very easy to know gray is the slow train, brown's the medium, black is the fast train. Mm-hmm. And so you want to put fast trains out because there's only so much time. There's only so many rounds in the game. But there are moments where you're too hesitant because, I don't have enough signal or switch cards that if we have multiple of the black trains moving really quickly around the board, we're going to run into those penalties, those time penalties. And so, but you can't just put out nothing but the slow trains otherwise, because those slow trains... mostly ones, maybe 2 2s and 1 3. You roll a die. Yeah.
And so the odds are very...
They're painfully slow.
Yeah, and occasionally one gets up and goes and you're like, oh, it did something.
Yeah, but there are times where it says, okay, add any train of your choice out to the map. And you're like, let's do a gray train because we have all of our actions already dedicated to getting this one brown train down to, the delivery city fast enough. There's so many good decisions in this shipping logistics puzzle. This almost to me feels like you took one of those logic puzzles, like with the cars or the choo-choo trains or whatever, and you didn't gamify that, but you used that almost as kind of a foundation to build a game, if that makes sense, right?
Sure, because I think that if you were to tell me that it's a cooperative train game where each round you flip over cards and the game does positive stuff for you, I'd think where's the challenge? Where's the struggle? Is this a real game? But it is. And I think a lot of it's the time that you said that you're very short on time. And so you have to figure that out and make it work within the time. But also there is that level of randomness. You're going to be rolling dice. You're going to be moving trains. But you know what those odds are. And you know what the likelihood of things being. The trains come out kind of randomly. But you can, if you like more random, you can roll a die and just kind of see where they go. There's also number cards. Yeah, the tokens that you can flip over. And that allows you more control if you want more control. You can have less control if you want less control. I don't know. There's a lot of greatness in this game that I really enjoy.
The 2 maps are great. I like that I don't always love games that say hey, here's a list of variants on the back. But in this game, it works really well. The tokens, like you said, for more predictability. The 2 sides of the map where you deliver to all one or all, or to 2 different cities. I kind of want more.
Honestly, that's what I'd say my one negative of this game would be, is that I wish there was a little bit more in the box, scenario-wise. Sure.
This is a full-priced game. This is not a cheap one by any means. It's not the most expensive game, but that's the biggest question perhaps might be for you. Are you getting enough value out of this box? The rule book explicitly states, hey, we included extra discs like the signal and the switches and stuff because of the possibility of expansion maps in the future, which I would love to see. Mm-hmm. I really enjoy this game. Should we go into our thoughts and scores?
Let's do our final thoughts and scores.
I'm giving this game an 8.5. I think this game is excellent. This game is a really pleasant surprise in what it delivers, what it picks up and delivers.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Thank you. It's not only a surprise, but it's a really, really solid game. And even setting it up to go over the rules overview, I thought, I kind of want to play this again, right now. As you said, my biggest downside would be, I don't know if you get good value, I think, out of this box. But I do want more. I want more scenarios. I want more, kooky maps and stuff or whatever it may be. But I do want to keep playing this one. It's a really great sign.
That's awesome because I'm giving this a solid 8.5.
Oh.
No questions there.
Mine was a flaccid 8.5.
Yeah. Because yours had fans involved.
Okay.
Mine didn't. Mine had just trains. No, I have really wanted... not necessarily heavy, but very thinky co-op games. Co-op games that aren't just about, did I think a little bit better than the game lucked? And, oh no, I didn't luck. Or I could think as hard as I want, but the game will outluck me. And this doesn't have that. I want more games that have that control and that ability for me to say, I'm smart and that's why I won. And so I I like this. I'm very happy with it. Definitely a solid 8.5.
That's awesome. Yeah, David Thompson, the designer of this, is typically a war game conflict simulation designer, and he did this as kind of a passion project for his family who are big train fans, and you can kind of tell the passion behind it, and this is a surprise in so many ways, especially because am I seeing that name correctly? But that's awesome. I wasn't sure that we were going to come in at the same score, so very solid game. Very solid.
Super awesome. Well, I'm Wendy Yi.
I'm Chris Yi.
Thanks for joining us at the Dice Tower.
Have yourselves a fantastic day.